This is the Coleman Montana Camping Tent, the 8-person family tent with the hinge door you've probably seen in photos. My first reaction the moment I set it up was pretty simple. Big footprint, tall center, and that door really does feel like a real door. No fumbling with zippers every time I step in and out. The body looks like a long, narrow tunnel more than a square cabin. It's roughly 16 feet by 7 feet, so it's spacious lengthwise, but tight side to side. At the center, the 74-inch peak height lets me stand up straight. Near the walls, though, the ceiling slopes down fast, so I'm hunching over to grab a bag or tie my boots. The vibe inside is more enclosed shelter than airy hangout, because there are only a few windows and they're not huge. In my opinion, the materials match the price tier. Polyester fabric for the body and fly, fiberglass poles, and a thick polyethylene bathtub floor. A bathtub floor just means the floor material wraps a few inches up the wall, so water can't creep in at ground level. The rainfly is the outer cover that keeps rain off your inner tent, and the guy lines are the ropes you stake out to add stability. There's an extended awning over the door, creating a small porch to keep the entrance drier and give shoes a spot out of direct sun. Inside, storage is minimal. I have a small pocket and a single lantern loop, so I still end up leaving gear along the edges. Coleman says 15 minutes to set up. From my experience, solo in calm weather, my first complete pitch took about 22 minutes because the long fiberglass poles like to snag in the sleeves. With a second person, I've gotten it down to about 11 minutes. On a frustrating day with wind and a sticky sleeve, it took me way longer than I care to admit. The process is straightforward though. Assemble the shock-corded poles, feed them through the sleeves, raise the structure, stake corners, then guy it out. It can technically stand once the poles are in, but to hold its shape, keep the door aligned, and make it stable, I really need it fully staked and guyed. The hinged D door is the star of the show. 2 small poles give it structure so it swings open and shut. It's not airtight on its own. You still zip it closed for bugs and weather, but for quick trips in and out, it's so convenient. When I get the tent overly taut with stakes, the door can bind a little. Easing the tension at the corners usually fixes that. The front awning is great for shade and keeping the entry drier during a light sprinkle. In a wind-driven rain, my shoes under that awning still got wet, so I treat it as shade and splash protection, not a storm vestibule. Weather performance is a mixed bag. In steady light rain, the floor and the seam design keep ground moisture out, and the angled windows can crack open a bit without letting in drips. Once the rain gets heavy and starts pushing sideways, I've seen the weak points show up. The fly coverage leaves lower wall sections exposed, and water can creep at the seam where the tent wall meets the floor. The fabric's water resistance rating is around 1,500 millimeters, which is fine for short showers but not built for a long pounding storm. Ventilation is another trouble spot. With only a few small windows and no rear window, airflow is limited. On warm, still nights, it turns swampy in a hurry. When it rains, I close up to stay dry, and the humidity and breath linger. That leads to condensation, which looks like leaks but is just moisture collecting inside. If you camp in muggy weather, that matters. Wind performance depends on setup and luck. With all the guy lines staked and the fly snug, I've ridden out gusts in the low to mid-30s. In my opinion, the tall profile and long body make it catch wind like a sail, which is not ideal in exposed sites. The fiberglass poles keep the price reasonable, but I've had one split under tension, and I've seen reports from other campers with similar pole issues. I treat the poles carefully, tape a couple of stress points before trips, and carry a repair sleeve just in case. Packing up is painless if I use the expandable carry bag. There's a rip strip on the bag that lets it widen. With that opened, the tent, fly, and poles slide back in without any wrestling match. The packed size is a manageable long duffel, and the weight lands in the low 20-pound range, which is fine for car camping. Key features that matter to me are the hinged door, the extended awning, the tall 74-inch center height, the robust bathtub floor, and the E-port for power. The E-port is a small zippered flap at ground level where I can pass a cord without leaving a big gap for bugs. It's a small thing, but on rainy nights or when running a fan, it's handy. Storage is basic, but the essentials are covered if you pack a couple of extra gear organizers. What I enjoy most every trip is how easy it is to live with the door. When I'm carrying a cooler, a dog leash, or a sleeping kid, being able to nudge the door open and step through without juggling a zipper is worth a lot. I also like the usable standing height in the middle. I can change clothes, stretch, and move gear around without crouching the whole time. The floor inspires confidence. It's thick, it feels tough underfoot, and it has kept ground moisture out even when the site was damp. The front awning is another favorite for quick shade while unsorting gear or making coffee. In my opinion, the price-to-space ratio is strong. It's not a premium shelter, but it gives you a big interior and that hinge door convenience at a fair cost. I do have a few ongoing gripes. Ventilation just isn't great, so the interior gets stuffy on warm nights. Heavy rain overwhelms it, especially along exposed seams, unless I add extra sealant and pitch with serious care. And those fiberglass poles need gentle handling. If you're rough on gear or camp in strong wind a lot, they're not forgiving. Capacity-wise, Coleman calls it an 8-person tent. From my experience, it fits 2 queen airbeds comfortably with room to move. If I try to sleep a full crew, shoulder to shoulder, it becomes a floor of faces and elbows with nowhere for bags. For real-life car camping with mattresses, kids, and a dog, I'd call it a happy home for 3 or 4 adults, or a family of 5. In my opinion, it's perfect for fair weather weekends, easy drive-up campsites, and anyone who wants a big tent that still sets up fast with 2 people. It's not the airy, panoramic style some cabin tents offer, but the interior feels big enough to live in, and the door elevates daily use. I'd recommend this for casual campers who value convenience and floor space more than storm-proof performance. If your forecast is mild and you plan to take it out a handful of times a year, you'll probably be satisfied. If you expect surprise downpours, gusty mountain nights, or muggy summer heat, plan on extra seam sealing, a fan for airflow, and a very careful pitch, or consider a tent with a full coverage fly and more venting. In conclusion, the Coleman Montana gives me a lot of tent for the money and one standout feature I genuinely enjoy every day on site. The trade-offs are clear: limited ventilation, rain protection that tops out at light to moderate, and poles that need a gentle touch. If your camping style lines up with its strengths, family trips, car access, mostly nice weather, it delivers a comfortable base and a door you'll appreciate more than you expect. If you found this helpful, subscribe to the channel and drop your questions or your own tent stories in the comments. Thank you for watching.